Okay, good luck. Again, I excuse myself for being a little under the weather, so if my voice is monotonish or nasally, I'm sorry. We're up to I pay test Amid Bays. Pay test Amid Bays. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 lines to the bottom. There's two dots at 10 lines to the bottom, one line under the two dots. I'm Ravina. I'm Ravina. I'm Ravina by Sheila. Imure Kachim Kalim. Sheyotze Lifnei Zrikas Dam. So what's the halacha? What's the halacha? You have kachim kalim, you do zrika, you're going to burn the imurim on the mizbeach, and the bus is going to go out to be eaten in all the Yerushalayim, right? The shlom can be eaten in all the Yerushalayim. So the shaila is, we know if the blood went out, you have the psula yaitza. If the blood went out, you have the psula yaitza. If the basa went out, we're going to see it's a machlokes. What about the imurim? If the imurim go out, you have a psul of yaitza, says the Gemara. So says Ravina, Bashila, a mur kosher kalam they go out before the zrika, damim psulim, right? The puzzle. It's a carbon you can't be bringing. The Tanatuna, and our Mishnah is the right to it. Our Mishnah said, right? Our Mishnah said, going back to the Mishnah, by the Oifis, it says that if you go up the Mishnah from the bottom on Pei Tes Lamed Aleph, it says, "B'chor koyin l'maisim fnei shekedushas merechem v'nechel kahanim ha'maisa koyin la'oifis." Maisa comes before oifis fnei shu zevach v'yesh by kodesh kadashim damoy ve'imurav. So the maisa comes before the oifis because it has two things. It's called kodesh kadashim, which it's not, but it means like we'll see, and it's blood and emurim. Now oifis also have blood. Oifis also has blood. So when you said that the Maisa has blood and Emurim, what are you talking about? So that's what the Gemara is going to shtel on. The Tanatuna, this is a raya to Ravina Barshila's din that the Emurim of Kachim Kalim that go out apostle. Ifnei shu zevach v'yeshlei kachim kedoshim dama ve'emurav. Bishlei me'emurim, very good by Kachim Kalim Emurim kidamu. Ma dama lifnei zrika is out of the ballpark. Af emurim koidim zrika. So too the emurim is out. Did I skip a line? Oh, yes, I did. Bishlei me'emurim less nu ba'oifis. Bishlei me'emurim doesn't exist by oifis. Eladam mia isya. Dam does exist by oifis. Elalav kamash malon. Emurim kidamu. That will treat the emurim like the dam. Ma'ai dam lifnei zrika. Just like if dam goes out before zrika, it's puzzle. Af emurim koidim zrika. V'kakari lu kachik kedoshim. Umadam a mifsal b'yaitza, afimur a mifsal b'yaitza. So l'chayr we have a raya from a Mishnah to din of Rabbi Shila that if the imur of kachim kalim go out, you have the psul yaitza. Name a Messiah. I'll bring you a raya to this. Basar kachim kalim. Okay, now that's the third thing, not the dam, not the imurim, but the basar. Basar kachim kalim shiyatza l'fnei zrikas damim. Rabbi Yochanan kasha. It's kasha. That's psul yaitza. Why? Because it could be eaten in Yerushalayim. Rish Lakish Shama Pasal. Rabbi Yochanan Makasha. Hayel B'Seifer Lot says, what's going to happen to this meat? This meat is eventually going to go out to what? To be eaten in Yerushalayim itself. All right. And Rish Lakish Shama Pasal. Adayin Lo Yigiyus Mana Lot says. It's not the time yet to go out. So good, eventually go out, but not now. So that we have machloikas by the basa. So what's the raya, guys? Rish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan arguing by basa. Mashma by Imurim. Mashma by Imurim. There's no machloikas. It would be puzzle. Ad kan le pligi ela bebasa. Av me'murim loi. So name a Messiah lay from the Raya. So you brought a Raya from our Mishnah by the comparison of Damai to Emurim. And Sveitens, you bring a Raya that the Machloikis by Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan is by Basa. Masma by Emurim, they're masking to Rava Bar Shila. So the Gemara loi. Who adin the Emurim nami pligi? They also argue by Emurim. For the kamiflagi bebasa. So why are you arguing by Basa? Ladia koichet Reish Lakish. That filu basa the Sefer Lot says Amra Dayan Lehigiyas Mana Lot says. In other words, guys, you wanted to say the following. Let's go over this outside. Let's go over this outside. We're not discussing. We're not discussing chatos asham zichra. If that goes out, is this psul yaitza. We're talking about kachim kalim. We're talking about kachim kalim and kachim kalim. If the blood goes out, it's puzzle. What about the basa? What about the imurim? Okay. So Ravina Bar Shila is saying the Emurim also will be puzzle. You have the psul of Yaitza. He brings a raya from a Mishnah by comparing the blood to the Emurim. So just like Emurim to blood, just like dam that goes out, so to Emurim that go out. And now let's bring a raya from a Machlaikis. Where do Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish argue? That's by Basa. Mashma by Emurim, they would both be masking that what? It's puzzle. Says you have no raya from there. From our Mishnah, you have a good raya. But from the name of Messiah later, Machlokes Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan, you don't have a raya. That they argue by Basa and not by Emurim, even though they argue by Emurim, is to tell us the Chiddush of Reish Lakish, despite the fact that eventually the bus is going to go out. Even though he's still puzzled because it hasn't reached the time that it's supposed to go out. Since you didn't do a Zrika yet to matter the basa. That's the Chiddush. But who didn't, they could have argued by Emurim. But that they didn't know by Emurim is to tell us the Chiddush of basa according to Reish Lakish. Leimikit Tanoi. Let's say this din about Emurim going out is Machlokes Tanoim. Emurim koshim kalim sheyotz lifnei zrikas damim. Rabbi Eliezer Omer ein moilin bahem. There's no din of mila, even if there's zrika. There's no din of mila. You know why? Because l'char it's puzzle. L'char it's puzzle. Again, guys, remember, koshim kalim is mamin bailim. Koshim kalim is mamin bailim. There's only a din in meila in the emurim after the zrika. But so when Rabbi Eliezer says there's no meila, we can ascertain it must be the zrika wasn't poil on the emurim, and therefore he would hold you have psul yaitza. The ein chayav mamin aleph, ein chayav lam mishum pigel noiser v'tamei. If you have machshav a pigel or noiser or eating a betuma, it wouldn't apply because it's puzzle. Rabbi Kiva oimet moilin b'hem. Rabbi Kiva says there would din a meil in them. The chayav malei mishum pigel noiser v'tamei. You be chayav for pigel noiser v'tamei. Right? Why? Because like Rabbi Akiva, it's not puzzle. Like Rabbi Akiva, it's viable emurim. My lab the hodar ailenu. Isn't it speaking way you brought it back inside? The emurim were outside and then you brought them back inside. Ubaha pligi. Demar Rabbi Eliezer savar nifsala b'yaitza. Therefore, there's no meila and therefore there's no psula of eating it in pickle nice with tummy. Umasava and Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion like nifsala b'yaitza. Therefore, meila the zrika would go ahead after you bring it back in. The zrika would create meila and also the isra pickle nice with tummy. Again, you brought it back in and you had a zrika. Again, the zrika can't be one outside, guys. The zrika can't be outside. It has to be back inside. So if you learn it back inside, we can apply it to the. Like, if it remains outside, there's no shaila. If it remains outside, if the zrika takes place, psul yaitza means it went out and then it came back in. If it was outside during the zrika, that we're not discussing that. We're discussing when it popped back in. Amar Papa, the zrika will be machsharit like Rabbi Yochanan. Everyone says that what it'll go ahead and do it. Everyone says that what it would be good. In other words, even Rabbi Eliezer would admit it works. So you can't bring a raya from here to say it's machlokes tanoim. It's still outside. It's still outside. Dimar savar Rabbi Eliezer of the opinion ein zrika mayelis liyaitza. Zrika does not help for yaitza. Umasava and Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion zrika mayelis liyaitza. So not like I said that if it's outside, everyone admits it. Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion that zrika would go ahead and help b'yaitza. It would help. In other words, even though it's outside, it would go ahead and take off it would put it in the category of meila and everything else. But it's not negaya. Our shaila, it's not negaya. Our shaila is when it's back in. Here, it's still outside. Now, the shtei lechem that was kiftziyat seres on Shavuos. What happens if you did this rika of the kiftziyat seres and they were outside? So when it's outside, everyone everyone would admit that it's no good. Right? And they argue regarding bringing the shtei lechem back inside. So just like the machlokes by the shtei lechem is when it's inside, when he brought it back in, so to hu adin by the imurim of kashim kalim, they're arguing. So you want to establish that enochinami is a machlokes tanoim, and it is our shaila because it is back inside. Again, you have machlokes by shtei lechem, and the shtei lechem was saying not when it's outside, when it's back inside. So just like over there they argue by the shtei lechem, over here they'll argue as well. Says no, you have no raya. Hani. The lav gufa this vicha. You know where they argue by shtei lechem when it's still outside? is because what? Is because it's not part of the Zevach. It's not part of the Zevach. Aval murim the kufa the zvichahu, but a murim where it is part of the zvicha, it is no abroi pligi. They can argue when it's outside. Again, the reason why, the reason why shtei lechem, where it's outside, everyone says it doesn't help because you don't have that connection. You don't have the connection. It's not part of the carbon. It's you have two shlamim, and you have two lechem. So there's halacha connecting the both. But in mitzias, the srika of one is not going to help because the other one is outside. Masha enkein, if it's a murim, which is in fact part of the carbon, Rabbi Akiva would say it does help outside. That the srika does help, even though it's outside, it would help. Okay. Oifis koidmin, we said the oifis come before the carbon mincha. The oifis come before the carbon mincha. Adarabba, minachas koidemesh sheken yeshna betzibor. You have the minchas oimer, right? Oifis are there's no carbon siba by an oif, but there is a mincha that's a carbon siba like the minchas oimer. So it's yeshna betzibor kibiyachid. Afilu hachi minei damim adifa. Even so, minei damim and oifis are a type of blood carbon, not as much as a zevach as we saw. It would be more odif in kedusha to be brought before minachos. Minchas chayta comes before minchas nidava. Guys, let's see. Look inside the lashon of the Mishnah back. Pay Tesam and Aleph. 3 lines to the bottom. Minchas chayta koidemis le minchas nidava. The minchas of a chayta comes the minchas nidava. Fnei shu bo al chayt, because it comes bad for a chayt. So I have 2 karbanis to be brought at the same time, right? What comes first? The minchas chayta or the minchas nidava? The minchas chayta because it comes on a chayt. Okay, let's see by us. Adarabba, minchas nedava kedemesh shekein tuna shemen v'levayna. It's the moment chudadik carbon. Minchas chayta is dry, guys. It's dry. There's nothing. You don't put anything in it. But by the mincha of nedava, you're going to put shemen and levayna, frankincense. So the chayra, it gives it a certain prestige. So it's the moment chudadik carbon. So let's bring that first. And for the Gemara, afilu hachi minchas chayta haba al chayt adifa. Why the mechaperes? Because it's a mechaper. We have that concept, right? They want to get the kapara before as early as possible. Iboilu, the following shaila. Minchas saita or minchas nedava. You've established that the chayta comes before the nedava. What about the minchas saita before the minchas nedava? Ezim kaidemes. Minchas nedava kadma shekein tuunim shemen ulevaina. Aidilma minchas saita kadma shekein bo levar oven. In other words, we see by minchas chayta, it comes on a chayt. It comes with a purpose behind it. And therefore, despite the fact that it's less of a carbon in terms of its hidur, because it's dry, nonetheless, it comes before a more mohudidik carbon, a nedava. What about a saita? A saita's carbon is also dry. It's also dry. It comes for a purpose, to go ahead and be mavara whether she did or she didn't. Would that come before minchas nedava? That's the Gemara's kasha. Is it the same as a chayta or not? Is it the same as a chayta or not? We're not pushing the shaila baruch.
But the sota is from barley, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that less chashuv than a?
It's true. The Gemara will bring that up. That it's from barley. It's not as chashuv as chitim, but we'll see. We'll see. We're going to bring that in. Very good. We're going to bring that in. Tashma. Minchas chayta koidemis leminchas nedava. Okay, that's what our Mishnah said. What's the inference? Minchas chayta hu dekodma leminchas nedava. Ha minchas sayta loy. In other words, let's make an inference. Dafka the minchas of a sayta of a chayta, but not the minchas of a sayta. Says no. Mi ketani ifnei shi mechaperes, ifnei shi bal chay ketani. But now mi bal chay. The lashon of the Mishnah, guys, wasn't that mechaper? It's because it comes on a chait. And this is also coming on a chait. Guys, even if she is not guilty, is this kind of tzadekis, right? Guys, even if she's not guilty, she was kinei stira. She was behind closed doors with a man, right? So she needs a kapara. So maybe, right? So you have no raya. Yeah, you have no raya. It could be enochinami. You want to bring a raya? Not could be yes. Tashma, and we're going to bring in Baruch's taina. Sukademis lezu So Zuba min hachitim, this one comes from wheat. V'zu bin hasoirim, this comes from barley. Now, chita is the Michael of an Adam, and barley is the Michael of a behemoth. So it's a much more prestigious crop. My lav, minchas nedava leminchas seite. This is what Baruch wanted to say. The chitim is a minchas nedava, and the seite is soirin. So we can be paishet the shaila that it does not come before. So loy, minchas chayta leminchas seite. It comes that the minchas chayta comes before the minchas of a seite. In other words, not nedava, guys. The chita is not speaking about nedava; it's speaking about the chayta. Again, what's our shaila? Minchas nedava before saita or not, or saita before? So you want to be paishet that what it says wheat before barley. So you want to say nedava before saita? No, saita is the barley. There's no question about that. Here's the shaila: the chita is not nedava like you thought. It's chayta. It's dry, but it's chita. It's chita. So that, in other words, chayta and saita, chayta would come first because it's mechaperes, right? So in other words, that's not our shaila. And you can't be paishit from here because chita does not mean nedava. It means chayta. Fred the Gemara, then you don't need to say because it's sweet. Typically, the mechaperes, v'alay mechaperes. In other words, if it was speaking about the mincha of a chayta, don't give the reason because it's sweet. Give the real reason. Why? Because it's mechaper and the other one's not. Says the Gemara. So my minchas nedava typically the zu tuuna shemen levayna v'zu enitu shemen levayna. So guys, why would you say the minchas nedava comes before the saita? Because it's chita. Can I also say because it's gemish mid ale? It has levayna and has oil in it. Yeah, but you don't say that, correct? So really, it is speaking about the chayta. If it's speaking about the chayta, so why don't you say mechaperes? Elachad mitrei time inokit. It's speaking about the chayta, and we said one or two reasons. We said it's sweet. We could have said it's mechaperes, but we didn't. Memela, you have no raya. It means in a bayad ifshita whether minchas nedava comes before the saita or not. Guys, you hear the little knetch there at the end. You wanted to say if it's speaking about a chayta, so why don't you say mechaperes? So the Gemara said, okay, if it's speaking about nedava, why don't you say that it has shem and levayna? Ella, you said chita. Who then you could have said the other thing. But in Achinami, you have no raya that the chita over here is speaking about nedava, the chita over here is speaking about chayta, and there's no shaila that the chayta comes before the saita. We said chata sa'oif kaidemes. Let's see the list in the Mishnah. I find guys this parak fascinating. By the way, I find this kol tadir, the holding a tadir in a tadir is likdain. This is the source for tadir. This is the main source. I find it fascinating. It's like right here in Masechta Zevachim. Chata sa'oif kaidemes la'oila sa'oif v'chein be'ektesha. Guys, the last line. Chata sa'oif kaidemes la'oila sa'oif. So I have a chata sa'oif. You're going to bring it before the oila sa'oif, and not only that. In the act of being magdashit, when you buy the birds, or when the kohen makes it, he's going to make the chatas first. Good. What about chatas behema? What about chatas behema, guys? So look at yesterday's for people who missed yesterday's share. Look at peites at the top, peites on the base at the top. Minoni mili that the chatas goes before the dam of the oila. It says uparsheni. This is by the Levium. Uparsheni ben baka tikach lechatas. Okay, you're taking the second one as a chatas. So mashma the first one's an oila, and we said the next pasuk says v'asesa echad chatas v'echad oila, right? So we said one is the Inyan bringing it first, and one's the Inyan burning the ivarim first. But you see that the chatas the chatas, if you have in zrika, guys, who comes first? The chatas comes first because it says echad chatas v'echad oila. So that's by behema. So not only by behema. Now we want to know what's the din of oila sa'oif. Fellas, look at me. So we have behema we've established yesterday. We're establishing oif now. Then we're going to go to oif behema. What about a chatas oif and a chatas behema? What would come first? That's the other variable. Good, geschmack. Let's see it inside. Okay, so chatas oif. This parsha is said by the Karmen Oila V'Yored. You're a rich guy. And you went to Beis Hamikdash Yitami and you found out afterwards, or Yeshua's Bito, Yeshua's Eidus, and what happens? You got to bring a kevesh. You got to bring a sheep as a chatas. What happens if you can't bring that? Then you bring 2 birds, right? Then you bring 2 birds. So that's what we're speaking about. The Tan Rabbanan. V'hikriv es asher lechatas rishoina. The bird, you're going to bring the chatas first. That you have to bring it first. Shein tam of leimel lamed shetakriv rishayna. Well, you don't have to tell me that you're going to be here first. It says later on in pasuk Yud, V'esa sheni yasa oila, and the second one you should make an oila. Elazeh binyan av. This is a source, not for oifos, but for all chatas. L'chol chatois sheyakdimu la'oila habas imohem. If you have an oila and a chatas at the same time, you're always going to bring the chatas first, and you learn that from oilas oif, oilas. You learn that from carbon oil v'yored. So again, it says. And when it says over here, and the second one you bring is an oila, you don't have to tell me that you bring the first one as a chat because it says that over here. It's to teach me, right? It's to teach me that anytime you have in conjunction, you're bringing a chatas and oila, you're going to bring the oila first, even if the oila is a animal, even if chatas oila is an animal. So this is the chiddush. This is our other variable. This is what? This is oif, chatas oif, and chatas behema. This is good. Bein chatas oif la'oilas oif, bein chatas behema la'oilas behema, va'afilu chatas oif la'oilas behema, even chatas oif to oilas behema. Hilka chatas oif la'oilas oif, mive'im ve'es hasheni. You learn that chatas oif before oilas oif. It says ve'es hasheni yasa oila. Chatas behema la'oilas behema. Mid the Rabbi Rachmana we learned yesterday. V'ases echad chatas echad oila. Chatas oif la'oilas behema. Guys, a chatas oif comes before. I said before, not chatas oif chatas behema. No. Chatas oif oilas behema, right? Not chatas. Chatas behema will come before. That's the Mishnah. Excuse me. You know what? Chatas behema comes before chatas oif because they're both chatois, and that's a zevach, and this is a oif. Guys, good. The shaila is you have chatas oif before oilas behema. That's the shaila. Okay. Chatas oif oilas behema mizeh binyan av that we learn from this binyan av. So it's funny. The Gemara gives a summary. Usually, it's a little odd for the Gemara to give you a summary, right? The Gemara summarizes a shtickle. Okay, now we're going to ask on that, fellas. Where do you find in the Torah a person bringing an oif as a chatas and a behema as an oila? It's by Yoledes. The Yoledes, fellas, if she's rich, she brings an oilis behema and she brings a chatas oif. A tar ben yoino tar. I'll tell you just gevalga the dasakanim. Gevalga balaturim. Listen to this balaturim, guys. Usually, if you think in the Torah, which bird comes first? What do they always say? They say ben yoino tar or tar ben yoina. What sounds right in your ear? Tar ben yoina, right? It always says tar ben yoina. It says by the chatas yoledes, it says she brings in a kevesh. And then it says she says uben yoina. It doesn't say tar. It says the balaturim gavaldik. Usually when you bring birds, you bring two birds. Over here you're bringing one bird. You're bringing the animal and you bring one bird. Because a tar, it goes ahead and it mates for life. The tar mates for life. If you're going to go ahead and bring a tar, one bird, you're basically killing the other bird. It's going to be without its mate. So therefore it says ben yoina first and then tar. Go ahead, bring in ben yoina first because it doesn't mate for life. Geschmack aliman, sensitivity. Well, for all the animal, pita people, right? This is the refrain. Okay, so now we're going to ask, guys. We're going to prove that chatas oif, that oilas oif and chatas and oilas behema, chatas oif and oilas behema, that oilas behema should come first. That's what we're going to prove over here. Tashma Rebbe Eliezer Oimer, kol makom shenis chalfa, any place you go ahead, shenis chalfa chatas. You go ahead and you switch. Oil of Yored, guys. Machlef, you're going from rich to poor. Chatas kodemes. The chatas will come first. Vikan, and over here, by the Yoledes, you can say the oil kodemes. The oil comes first. And that's going to be Akasha. Kolmaku shabal chet. Chatas kodemes. Anytime it comes on a chet, the chatas comes first. Vikan by Yoledes, oil kodemes. Because it doesn't come for a chet. Even though we said she went ahead and she cursed the husband, she's not going to go back to him. But it's not coming on a chait. It's a nice musavar, but it's not an actual chait, right? It's not an actual chait. It's not chayiv krisis, guys. Usually a chatas comes with chayiv krisis, correct? Your ledes is bringing a chatas, and this kind of chayiv krisis. So you see, it doesn't bother you, they chait. Okay? B'chol makom shnayim boyim tachas chatas kodemes, the kan oil kodemes. What do you see? You see over here by your ledes. What's coming first? What's coming first is the oila. So it says Rashi, Amarava lemikra hiktima hakasav. Regarding Rashi, lemikra hiktima hakasav should take nikras be'inyan tchila. It comes first that it should be called first in the inyan. Aval b'avridasan, when the actual avodah chatas kaidemes chuchtamarin mizeh binyanav. This is a binyanav when you have a chatas oila, even if the oila is a behema and the chatas is no, if you can bring it first. Rashi seems to say that l'chayra it just means regarding reading that it's read first. It just means that what that it's read first, and the reasoning of Rabbi Eliezer that he's giving over here. Rabbi Eliezer is reasoning that anytime it's mischalif, it's to go ahead and to explain why the oil comes first. Now, when I learned this, I said it doesn't make too much sense to me. It has to be a practical application. So you look at Tosfos. Lemikro hikdimu hakasav pirish b'kontris shetei nikras be'inyan tchila v'tema machidushu. Whatever the Torah wrote, the Torah wrote. What's the chiddush? Umefarish Rav Chaim lehakdisha tchila means to be magdish at first. She yagdish oila koydem achatas. Aval hakriv chatas koydemes. You know what it means, lemikra? Guys, he says Tosfos, mikra means calling the shame. When I have two birds by Yoledes, I'm going to call the name oila first. And now you have a working nafkamina, right? You know, it's usually you magdish the chatas first, as we said in the Mishnah. V'chein le'ek deisha. By if you're going to bring two birds you can bring the bird by the yoledes is first you're going to bring the oila, and then you're going to call the oila kodesh, and then you're going to call the chatas. Okay. Tashma. Parim koidmin le'elim. Parim come before elim. You have bulls to bring, and you have rams to bring. Bulls take precedence. Bulls take precedence. Elim koidmin kvasim, and rams come before sheep. Kvasim l'seirim, and kvasim come before goats. Each one of these things has one more than the other. Each one of these things, the inyan is sarin, the inyan the accompanying carbon mincha that accompanies them, is sarin 2 esrainim or 3 esrainim, and the advantage of the keves over the seir is the keves has the aliyah, the imurim of the aliyah that's not by the seir. So that's my lav the chag. Now, guys, if it's speaking about the chag, the seir is the chatas. All these other things are oilus. And so you see an oila comes before the chatas. We're questioning. You say that the chatas comes first. Apparently over here you see that what? That the oila comes first. Because we're speaking about the chag, the regel. And since it's the regel, the seir is brought as what for Tumas Mikdash Kadashav. Every Rosh Chodesh or and every Yantiv, it's brought. The Machloek is what it's Machapa for the first Mishnah in Shavuos, that very hard Mishnah in the beginning of Shavuos. If you haven't noticed, fellas, by the Shiva house, Shavuos is not taken that often. By the Shiva house, Shavuos is not. It's funny. You think Nesikin, you'll take a look the next time you go. Anyone who knows anything, the Shavuos is not easy. Anyway, L'chala Pachas. Loi, Linadava. It's not speaking Le'inyan the Chag, it's speaking Le'inyan Nadava. So once it's not speaking Le'inyan Chag, it's not speaking about a Seir, that is what? That's a Chatas. We're speaking Linadava, it's an Oila, or a Shlamim. Parim Koibin Le'elim, Shekein Nisrabu bin Nesachim. There's more Nesachim by a par. V'chein Elim L'kfasim, there's more Menachos Nesachim by an Elim over a Keves. Kfasim L'seirim, even though they have the same as Isaroin, Shekein Nisrabu ba'alya, it has the alya. But Einochinami, you don't have a kasher on me whatsoever, because we're not speaking about a seir that's a chatas. We're speaking about an adava. So Einochinami, we've held serve that anytime you have a chatas and an oila, the chatas comes first. Tashma, par koyin Mashiach, the par koyin Mashiach, which is a chatas, koidim lepar helm dava shal sibur, which is a chatas, par helm dava shal sibur, koidim lepar avodas kechavim. Now, by now, you should know, but you might forget, so I will remind you. If they blow it in Avodah Zarah, fellas, they don't bring one carbon, they bring two. They bring a par and they bring a seir. the par is an oila, and the seir is a chatas. So now, I gave you three kabbanis: Mashiach, Helam Davar, and par avodas kechavim. Par avodas kechavim, the seir avodas kechavim comes before the seir avodas kechavim. The afik of the par avodas kechavim oila, seir avodas kechavim chatas. So l'chor you have a kasha. Guys outside, look at me. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Look at me. Guys, you have a few chatas, right? You have Koy Mashiach, Helam Davar, and now you have the power of the Seir, and you have a chatas. Number 3 is a oila, and it's coming before number 4, which is a chatas. So you see that why it comes first. Now, the kasha is shver, but look at the first part. The first part, you have the chatas coming, 1 and 2 are chatas, they're coming before number 3 is an oila. You're asking in 3 to 4, what about 1, 2 to 3? 1 and 2 are chatas, and then 3 is an oila. So you're asking the 3 to 4, what about 1 to 2 to 3? Okay, says the Gemara. Right? It says the question is not what I'm not questioning if it's one min, if it's the same min. The chadmas kadma. When it's the same min, there's no question. So I know the par comes before the par of Koy Mashiach, and Helam Davar will come before the par, which is an oila of Davis Kechavim. Right? Ki kamrinon betray mini, when they're two different ones. Right? Right. And two minim, ashken oila the kamal lechatas. That we find out why it comes. Now, we said in our Mishnah that imurim afilu chatas oif is koidem lechatas behema. We said before, not the imurim. We said that chatas oif comes before chatas behema. So, guys, what's akasha? Chatas oif is one min. Chatas oif is an oif, and oilas behema. Oilas behema is a. And nonetheless, we see when it comes to two different minim, the oila comes first. That's the kasha. That's the kasha. We see over here, you have the number 3, which is a par, is coming before a seir, which is a chatas. So why oif, which is a chatas, why does it come? You always say it comes before the oila, which is a behema. Why? Like we see it's not true. Right? Ami marava mishmei the rava bar maravi chatas avodas kechavim chaser aleph. The chatas avodas kechavim is different. In other words, it's a chesron in the chatas. If you look in the Torah, it says in Bamidbar Tezvav, Pasuk Chav Dalid, Bamidbar Tezvav, Pasuk Chav Dalid, it says, V'hoya ime'ena eda nesel ishkaga v'asu kol eda par ben bakal echad oila, l'rech v'choyach minchasa, and the last word is chatas. It's missing the aleph, guys. I should have brought this in. I should have put it on the board, but I didn't. It says chatas. Lamed ches. Why does it say? Why is it missing the aleph? Why is it missing the aleph? I'll tell you why. Ravina Amar. So therefore, why is it telling me it's chasa? That this chatas is different than the other. Usually the chatas comes before the oila. This chatas won't. The fact that it's missing the aleph shows that what the par comes before it. I think we had this once before. Ravina Amar Kimishpat Kasiv Bahu. It says Kimishpat. In other words, Azai state. This is what it says in the Torah. This is the way you have to do it. So it says Kimishpat over there, right? It says Kimishpat. So once it says Kimishpat, the reason why, since it mentioned that order, that's the way I have to do it. So Hashlas Lahachi. Now do you say the word Mishpat? Afilu Tema Parim Dechag Nami Kimishpatam Kasiv Bahu. Guys, look back at the Amid Aleph. Look back at the Amid Aleph. Harim koydmin le'elim, ve'elim koydmin le'kfasim, kfasim l'seirim, Amid Beis, my love the Chag, and we answer l'nedava. Guys, you know what it says by the Chag, guys? It says Kimishpat. So now you could say it's speaking about the Chag, but it's not a kasha my rule. The Chatas will always come before the Oila. You want to know by the Chag why the oil comes first? Because as I state, Kimishpat. This says Kimishpat. So once you gave the teres by power of Avodas Kechavim, that's an oila, comes before the seir of Avodas Kechavim, which is a chatas, because it says Kimishpat. I could use that Ravina's rule to explain, to answer the kasha that we said above. Over there, that you're bringing the oilus before the seir, which is a chatas. Why? Kimishpat, because that was the halacha over there. Very gishma. Iboilu. Chatas oif oilus behema umaiser. I have chatas oif, I have oilus behema, and I have maiser. Okay, guys, let's do a little. If you have a chatas oif and you have meiser, what comes first? So meiser comes first because it's a zevach. Again, an oif will never take precedence. Fellas, this whole discussion of oif taking before, guys, look at me. This is very important. This discussion of oif taking precedence of an oila is when they're brought together. When they're brought together, like a yoledes, you bring them at the same time. If I would show up with my carbon oila and or any other carbon that's a zevach, and someone shows up with a chatas oif, I'm coming first because an oif takes is secondary to a zevach. That was our mishnah, right? That was the mishnah. That was the mishnah on Peites. Hamaisa koydem lo'ifis mifnei shehu zevach. Maisa comes first. As I state in the mishnah. Okay, so guys, look, what do you have now? Look, a person brings three karbanis. They show up here. Show up a chatas ha'if, an oilis behema, and meiser. What would go first? Ezemihin koydem. Now, the chatas ha'if is going before the oilis behema because of the binyanav, right? They're coming together, yes? So the question is, does the meiser come after that or before that? So chatas ha'if ikka, meiser the kodem lekadim. Okay, so which comes first? Tagdim chatas oif. To go ahead and bring the chatas oif first. Ika meiser the kodem lay. You have meiser that comes before it. Lekadme meiser. Ika oilis behemer the kodem la. You can't. How can you bring the meiser before the oila? Tigdim oilis behemer. Ika chatas oif the kodem la. So what do you do, guys? What do you do? I can't bring the oif before the maisa. I can't bring the maisa before the oila, and I can't bring the oila before the oif. It's circuitous, right? It says Gemara Hacha in Bavel Tergemu min zevach adif, right? Min zemach is adif, and maisa therefore would bring first. Again, I can't bring my chatas before the oila, so the chatas has got to be before the oila. However, min zevach, since the meiser is a min zevach, it's going to come before the chata. So here's the order: meiser, chatas oif, oilis behema. Imagine, right? The oilis behema is going last. You hear, guys? Min zevach. In other words, the meiser takes precedent over the chatas oif. That's in Bavel. In Arava Amri in Eretz Yisrael, they said, "Aile bo oilis behema, the chatas oif." What we're going to do is the fact, guys. Look at me, guys. Look, I have over here a oif, a chatas oif, and I have a behema. I have this. This takes precedent over this. So since this takes precedent over this, I'm going to keep it in that order. In other words, it's not like this. It's not that this is a min zevach and it takes precedent over what? Over the chatas oif. Since the oilis behema takes precedence over the maisa, I'll keep it in third place. I'll keep it in third place, and the chatas oif will come first. So according to the first pshat, it's maisa, oif, behema. According to the second pshat, it's oif, behema, maisa. Says the Mishnah, Kol hachatas shebetayra kaidemis lashamais. All the chatas in kol tader, anything that's tader, all chatas shebetayra kaidemis lashamais, they come before the asham. Chutz mi asham mitzayra, b'fnei shu ba lahachshir. It comes to be machshir. What do we know about the asham, guys? What do we know about the asham? And the mitzayra, that's the carbon where you're going to do the behindness. You're going to do the ear. You're going to do the behindness, the big toe, and the right thumb. You're going to put shemen. You're going to put dam on it. So it's the one that's going to be machshir. Now you might ask, you bring a chatas also. You bring three kabbanas. You bring an oila. You bring a chatas and an asham. So that also the chayyim should do the job. So if you look at Shitnu Gebetz's Hey, Shehu Bola Hakshir, the Asham comes to Hakshir, take out the word al. Afagav the chatas mitzayra kimay came bolahachshir. Even though the chatas mitzayra is also being machshir. Again, he's not able to eat kachim. He's not able to come to the machne. Right? The gam lechaper become makom lahachshir. The gam lechaper become makom eno kol kach ikar hechshir kimay asham. Shahay midama asham chaya al gufa mitzayra al bahoinis. In other words, the fact that the asham goes physically on the mitzayra himself is more of a machshir than the chatas. So he's being mechalik between the two. The fact that the chatas, that the asham comes on the person itself. So every chatas comes before an asham. Again, what was the reason? We said because they have 4 matanos rather than 2 matanos, because they're both lechaper. Guys, they're both lechaper. The reason the chatas comes first because there's matanos 4. Mashen came the asham is shleim shein arba. Asham mitzoira comes before lehachshir. Change the gersa lehachshir. Kol hashamis shebetoira boyim b'nei shtayim. All hashamis b'nei they have to be 2 years old. Uboyim b'kesef shkolim, and they after you pay two silver shkolim. Chutz mi asham nazal asham mitzoira shein boyim b'nei shnasa. They're a year old. They boyim b'kesef shkolim, and they're not 2 but they're 1. Shem shekoyim bakravasan, just like all the we discuss now. Everything that we're discussing later in Hakrava, koyim b'chilasan, it comes b'achila. Look at Rashi on this one, guys. Let's see Rashi. Kula. Second wide line. Akula b'nei achila koy. K'gain chatas la'asham, asham l'toida, toida l'shlamim, shlamim l'bechar. Obviously, an oil is not eaten, right? But anything that's eaten, chatas comes first, then asham, then shlamim, then toida, the first toida, then shlamim, and then bechar, right? That's the order. Guys, you good? Next one. Shlamim shel amash, u'shlamim shel yoim. If you have a shlamim from the day before, and a shlamim of this day, shel amish koidmin. Yesterday goes first. The shel yoim shlamim the shel yoim shlamim shel amish chatas of asham shel yoim shlamim shel amish koidmin. Div Reb Meir. So if you bring a shlamim into the Beis Hamikdash, and Rashi says shlamim shebo amish la'azara usho arayoim, and you waited till this day, the shachtan, and you shecht it, right? So the one that you bought yesterday will come before the one that you bought today. That's what it says. The next case is shlamim from yesterday and a chatas of today. Shlamim shel amish, the chatas v'ashim shel hayoim, shlamim shel amish koidmin, div Reb Meir, the chachamim moimim chatas koidemes b'fnei shehi kosher kedashim. Guys, Rashi learned that you brought it in yesterday, but you didn't shecht it until today. If you were learning the Gemara, I would have said it was shechted yesterday, and the question is whether you can eat it because the clock is ticking. Right? It's kind of funny. Guys, it's not consistent with the rest of the Mishnah. The rest of the Mishnah was discussing achila. Here you're telling me it was yesterday, you bought it yesterday, and you waited till today, and now you shechted it. Which comes first? Now, Rashi clearly stated you bought it in alive, and you waited around. Look at Tosfos. Shlamim shel amish v'chatas v'asham shel yaim, shlamim shel amish koidmin. Perish b'kuntris, tizilzulhu lahashloisam kol kach. It's a zilzul to wait so long. Shetzuras habasa miskalkelas. The form of the basa will get ruined. Guys, Rashi wasn't discussing ruined basa. Rashi was discussing a live animal. Where's the ruined basa? Right? Guys, you hear what Tosfos is saying? It's mashma that it's basa already, and you're keeping it around, it's going to get fashimelt. Right? It's going to get fashimelt. It's going to get ruined. So, and he's quoting Rashi. He's, again, guys, outside. You have a case of this. This is what it says. You have a chatas that's a day later, and a shlamim that's a day later, and a chatas today. I would have learned It's speaking where you shechted the shlamim. You have a chatos. Which do you eat first? That's what I would have said. And I said, you eat shlamim first. Yeah. Rashi didn't say that. Rashi said it's speaking where you. It's a zilzal to keep an animal that waited so long, and now you have a chatas, and to go ahead and mizalzel, you shech that one first. Taisus didn't learn like that in Rashi. Taisus learned you had existing meat, because Taisus said the meat's going to get ruined. Says Taisus, Valchinam dochak, el hainu taima de shlamim shalamish, ein lehem heter, el adalayla. The chatas v'yoshem shal yoim adaboiker, then echolum yoim v'layla. That's the way I would have learned, fellas. I need eye contact. Guys, look at me. I had shech the shlamim on Sunday. So the clock is ticking. I can eat it all Sunday. I can eat it Sunday night, and I can eat Monday, but not Monday night. I shech the chatas on Monday, right? I can go ahead and eat it on Monday until Tuesday morning. So it makes sense to say that's what it was speaking about, but Rashi didn't learn like that. Anyway, where did Taisus get this from? So I was bothered by this. Baruch Hashem, I have a sefer I share with you. This is the Chafetz Chaim sefer, guys, on Kutchim. This is the sefer. It's called Likutei Halachos. He made like a riff in the middle. This is he put down, and he brings Rashi. And look at this. Here's our Rashi, guys. Look at my pointer. Shal amish kaidmin the zilzul hashaysam kol kach v'hoil sheshah meyemel. Since you delayed from yesterday, the gam shachtem yisruk damim rishon. So therefore, you're going to do this rika first of the shlamim. So it was alive until today. Rashi b'Gemara l'fi hamaskona sham. V'yesh mefarshim da mishnah koi le'inyan achila. The minos salik. It's thinking about achila because that's what we were discussing. Ukam Rab Meya, the shlamim shekriv on etmal, a shlamim that you were brought yesterday, you shechted it on Sunday. Kadam achilasan lechatas v'asham. It comes to eating comes before the chatas v'asham shekriv mayom that you shechted on Monday. Mishum da shlamim ein lehem heta achila el alayla until what? Until Monday night. The chatas v'asham nimshach heta achilasan af b'layla. So you see that Rashi, the Yesh Mefarshim, guys, this is Taisvis. It seems like he had Rashi. There was another Gersa in Rashi. It seems like there was another Gersa in Rashi, so it's fascinating. I don't know which. Okay. Anyway, there's two different things over there. Back by us in the Mishnah.
I thought it's because of the meat's going to spoil. Where's that come in?
It's not going to spoil.
No.
No,
the shlamim.
What?
The shlamim.
Yeah, so it doesn't say it's going to spoil. It says that it's a zilzal to keep it. It's going to look bad. In other words, it's not going to spoil. It just won't look so appetizing.
Okay.
It's not going to spoil.
All right.
Tuesdays in the night. Okay. So the Chacham say chatas kodemes. The chatas comes first. Mifnei shehi kachei kedashim. V'kuna kahanim ashoy l'shanis b'achilasan. They can cook it in different ways. Lachlan, sluyan, roasted, shlukim, cooked, shlukim, overcooked. Shalom. Last is the slightly table chulin, but table truma. We had this earlier. Even though we said that, can you go ahead and be ma'abed kachim? Because by putting in the truma, you're going to go ahead and limit the zman of the truma, because it's going to be limited to the time of the kachim. The Reb Shimon, don't put truma in there. Shlo had truma lidei psul. That truma should come to psul, right? Because again, you're going to the truma, whatever the zman of the carbon is, that truma is going to get ruined. I thank everyone for listening.